Get out!
Hello tankers and tankettes, welcome to a medium tank replay of mine, and it's the Centurion 7-1. This is about, I don't know, less than a week into actually having owned it, and I still had the 20-pounder gun on it at this point. And as Jingles has talked about in the past, the 20-pounder is still a perfectly valid choice on this tank. The Centurion 1 I played for like 140 battles to get to this machine, and never got beyond a first class mastery. I had some okay matches in it, but they didn't quite gel. This tank, on the other hand, is a keeper. I really like this machine. I can see why other people like this machine as well. Partly there's a bit more armour to work with, partly it's because even if you've got the 20-pounder gun, the gun handling, the DPM, it really gets a lot better. And then you have a possibility of a different gun to use, the 105mm L7A1, and that's actually, since I unlocked that, that's basically what I've been using. And if you don't know, although you should because I've done a video with it in, I now have the tier 10 as well, which was one of my quickest tier 10, grinds to a tier 10 ever. So I've gone to this the end of this street. I don't know what to call it. It doesn't really have a neat name like the Banana Street on Himmelsdorf, but the end of the middle street. And this is a bit risky when you're on your own. One of the things, I think the gist of what Jingles is talking about is this is, because of the rate of fire, this is a good gun for solo playing, but when you're platooning, maybe you want the punchier L7A1 just because, though you've got a longer reload, you potentially have people to cover you while you're reloading. But I just play the L7A1 regardless, and I like tanks where you have a choice. I really do. So I'm muffing some of these shots at the enemy Centurion 7-1. But with this gun, with this reload, it doesn't matter nearly so much. You can just pop out and take another one, and there we go. There's a kill. Now, we've had basically nobody going to town. We've got a couple of people that have barely moved off the spawn. But the majority of our forces are on this eastern side of the map. So I know my rear is totally unprotected, so rather than hang around in that position, and it was a risk going there to begin with, especially when I was playing on my own, because you don't have anybody taking up the other key positions especially. So rather than hang around there, rather than turn my tank and try and, you can maybe try and fight hull down over some of those piles of rubble, but yeah, it's a bit risky. You learn that this turret can be quite bouncy, but if you trust it too much, you can get spanked fairly hard. So I'm just moving up. I'm pressing forward, and hopefully I'm going to get some damage on this T28, who's AFK, but no, there's a pattern there. So let's actually take a slightly different route and see if we can't engage this pattern instead. So we know most of their tanks must be in town at this point, even though there are a few that aren't yet spotted. There's no other place they can be. We really do have control of the important areas of this map. And that's the thing about Ruinberg, is if you control the outside approaches to the town area, that can give you a big advantage. So unfortunately I bounced that shot on the side of the pattern, and the pattern's not known for its side armor, but maybe I just had a low penetration roll. That can happen. And bear in mind, this is, what, 226 pen? I mean, it's kind of tier 8 heavy tank penetration. It's still good on a tier 9 medium tank. There are tier 9 mediums that don't have this by any means. But then you get the L7A1, which is basically an MBT gun, a main battle tank gun. And that is a really superb gun to have on what is, in World of Tanks terms, a medium tank. So I know the waffle's there. I was slightly cautious when coming around the corner because I thought I might get a shot, but no. But yeah, I've got HESH shells loaded for the waffle, and you'll get to see, yeah, the HESH shells on this are a bit unreliable. Now I don't know, I was kind of faffing a bit there. I was pulling back and maybe trying to take a shot, and I don't know, just wasting time essentially. I really didn't need to. But although the Tiger 2 is behind the waffle, he's not directly behind, so the waffle's kind of cut off right now, because as you can see the Tiger's concentrating elsewhere. So HESH shells into the gun shield, into the rear of the gun shield, 281. Well, I probably hit the gun there, but yeah, no, side of the gun shield, 168. And the HESH shells on this gun are really not reliable, but then, bam, 458. So okay, that one did actually pen. Yeah, mostly you don't want to use the... Are these even HE shells? No, these are HE shells. What am I talking about? I'm talking nonsense. It's the L7A1 that gets HE. This is just straight up HE. So, yeah, no, okay. Just disregard everything I was talking about. But even that said, the L7A1 HE shells, the normal HE shells, even the premium HE shells can be a bit unreliable. So we're just going to pump a lot of lead into this Tiger, basically. Me and a Hellcat, and I knew I was going to take a hit against this position, but you see here, yeah, RNG denied that shot fairly hard. The frontal armour on this, I mean, if you've got it angled, it's actually fairly decent. And if he'd gone for my lower front plate, if he'd gone for certain weaker areas of my turret, he still could have penned me when I was in that position, but I was relying on him shooting in my hull armour. So there we go, E75, one of the last tanks left. He's going to be a tough target, maybe, but again, if I can get to a hull down position, that can, well, not again, I wasn't really in a hull down position before. I was in a position where I was only showing my frontal armour, and the Tiger fell for it, but the E75's got a bit more pen than the Tiger. Now, I wasn't really trying for the tracks of the E75, but I've managed to hit them, and that's going to be good for me because, yeah, boom, he just gets absolutely kablamoed by our Waffle Planzer. So, yeah, that was kind of short, and I initially didn't think I was going to walk away from that with a very good score, but I racked up over 3,000 damage, 3,558 damage, and the thing that got me an Ace Mastery, because that was my Ace Mastery game, was the 3,427 spotting and assistance damage on top of that. So I had almost as much spotting and assistance as I did actual damage. So just on the basis of damage done, you wouldn't think that would be an ace tanker. 3,500, 3.6, that's decent, you know, with 4 kills, but it was the almost equal amount of spotting assistance that I think really tipped it over. And I think it probably was about half spotting and about half assistance, because I do run with coated optics on this thing. It's kind of silly not to. You get a base view range of 410 meters, so if you stick on your coated optics, that's an extra, what, 40 meters on top of that. So it's really worth doing. You actually get slightly beyond the max spotting range, and when you get beyond max spotting range, that actually gives your tank more spotting power, because it's 446 meters is the max possible view range at which you can spot stuff at. But if you have a spotting range that's beyond that, that extra spotting power lets you overcome other people's camo value. So even if it seems like it's wasted, air quotes, it really isn't. It does help you all the same. So, yeah, I did waste a bunch of shots there. Most of my shells actually hit something. 21 hits out of 29 shots fired. And most of the hits actually did pen. So I did all right in terms of damage. And that's where the DPM comes into its own. If you can land the hits, although each individual shot isn't worth that much, it actually really does add up if you get, especially those flank shots, and you can just lay down that fire and lay down that fire. So, yeah, the 20-pounder, it is definitely a valid choice. And like I said, I really like tanks. Aside from the fact I just like the Centurion 7.1, excuse me, I just really like tanks generally where you have a genuine choice of guns to fit your playstyle. And there aren't that many in the game. And yes, it's only 2 different guns, but that's one more than most tanks get. So, if you enjoyed this replay, you can hit the like button, you can leave any comments below, you can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.